Kicking things off, welcome everybody. I can see a couple of new faces in here. Open mic, we run the first Friday of each month, 2 p.m. Sydney time. If you're around, jump in, have a yarn. We can jump on, we can troubleshoot with you. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. The team's here and they're happy to help out. European Open Mic was held, I think, this morning for us. That one will be available a little later in the week. There's some amazing content, so if you can catch the recording on that one, please be sure to check it out. And I'm going to hand the floor over to our Jake of all trades for some updates. The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Let me share my screen real quick. So I guess first of all, welcome everyone to the Open Mic. We have some good content today. We'll start with the slide deck, where I'll go through some updates, and that's not the right one there. So the first thing is a few community updates that we're going to announce, I guess. So there is a new filtering update coming into the platform. So for more advanced filtering, we are making UI improvements as we go along. So I'll showcase this later on in this call. And we also have a new Ninja One Discord channel. So all things Ninja One. If you're using Ninja One, you can go there. You can communicate with the community, or with devs or with our team, and find out information based on Ninja One. So with the product updates, we've got a new integration for TD Synnex Stream 1 Ion. Now, this integration allows MSPs to automate license management across multiple cloud services, including Microsoft 365, Google, IBM, Azure, Sophos, and IT Glue, to name a few. This integration will improve operational efficiency and reduce manual license administration and streamline your billing reconciliation for your MSP. There's also a new proof point. So they released new APIs and they're much faster. So we've also got in and integrated with their new APIs as well. And we also have new transform actions as well, which I'll show later on. So we've got one for formatting a date and time, and a sort transform for sorting alphabetical order of, say, people's names, right? In this next section here, we've got some education updates. So the two main things here are our process engineering and completion handler courses, which I'll show you as well in a brief moment. These courses have been sort of designed to upskill people around these nuances on the platform. So again, process engineering and completion handlers, they're pretty good. They're pretty short as well, so only 50 minutes a piece, I believe. And it'll be good, to see people complete those to get their knowledge up in the platform. We also have here the certification as well, so Clean Automations and Ruse Foundations. Now, if you complete these, they're about an hour and a half each, and there is an exam afterwards. You will get certified. You'll get a certificate, which you can present on your LinkedIn. And you'll also receive a role in the Discord to show other users that you've undergone the training and that you're a certified rooster. So that's also something to look forward to, right? The pass mark is 80% or better, and most people pass in the sort of first or second attempt, right? Now, the next slide here is around marketplace updates. So we have a few new crates. The first one being to manage Chocolatey packages. We also have SuperOps PSA support for RMM and PSA. We have a learning on low disk and free space. We also have an org chart builder, which might be useful to a lot of people. And we also have an install Acronis backup agent on device as a refactor of the original crate. We also have some SyncMonkey functionality that's been added to several of our crates. So the documentation crate for the M365 environment, document group details V2, document M365 shared mailboxes details V2, as well as user details. Okay, so let me now present my screen and walk you through some of the stuff that I just spoke about. So the first thing here, I guess we'll go through the new sort of UI changes around the workflow section here. So what you can see now, you can see there is a filter section here, and you can also filter by date range as well as the user, and also tagging, right? So with the filter attribute now, you can actually include or exclude certain tags. So for instance, if I only want to see triggers, but I don't want to see, sub workflows or say clone syncs, now we can filter in a more granular sense. So we're just making these improvements to, make better use of the filtering on the platform. And so now it is better to navigate the workflows. There will be some more improvements coming in the near future, but maybe in the next open mic you attend, we'll go over those there. Now, for the training materials, I have the link here. Someone can post it in the chat, please. We have process engineering and getting started with completion handlers, both very good courses. They are pretty fresh, maybe about a week old. We do recommend going through those there. And as well as for the get certified, so when you come into this section here, you'll be presented with 2 courses. We recommend starting with the foundations course first, and then go into clean automations, and then you will get certified. Again, you'll get that certificate and also the Discord role. So it's a bit of swag when you're in the Discord, right? So I guess the next thing we can talk about is the Synnex integration. So this thing's annoying me, move away. So under, I guess, configurations, under integrations, when you search for Synnex, you'll be presented with this screen here. So it's pretty simple to set up. Once you're actually in the platform, you never get to account. Go. Okay, there we go, integrations. Cool. All right, so username. Cool. Okay, sorry about that. We're back. So let's just never do that. Cool. So under the account settings, under users, we'll select demonstration user for this purpose. And if we hit edit, you'll be able to get the OAuth credentials. So the OAuth access token, which can be pasted into here. And then how you get the account ID is if you just go to account information, the account ID is situated here. So it's quite an easy integration to set up. And once that is then set up, what you'll then get access to is the actions, right? So this action here is to list products. So if I just run a test, this, it'll essentially run the action and return a list of products from the integration. What we can also see here, there are also our transforms, which I discussed before. So I'll quickly just show you the results of the Synnex one here. So you can see here to turning some product information from Synnex. There's quite a lot of information here. And then for the transforms as well, I'll actually go back one step and close this. So in these transforms here, this is the transform for changing the date format, right? So it just essentially gives you a desired format, right? So year, month, day instead of day, month, year, for instance. And this transform here is to actually filter the names in alphabetical order, right? So if you want to have, top down alphabetical, this is a transform to sort in that manner, right? Cool. So that's the first part of my content I have to present. I will now hand it over to Ray for our next demonstration.
Yep, getting it all up. Just give me 1 second while I bring that up.
If anyone has any questions about any of the content that Jake just shared as well, please yell out.
Cool. Okay. So today what I'm going to be covering is Microsoft Graph, and specifically paging in Microsoft, because quite a few people keep on asking about it because it is coming up more and more. So if you haven't come across it before, Microsoft uses the OData.next link properties to do paging. There's a nice document here that I'll end up sending to the chat, and I'll share with what I'm going to do. So what we're going to do is we'll just actually build the workflow live on how I manage paging in Microsoft. So got a canvas. As with most things, you always want to have a start. Roost looks for the first item with no imports as its start point, so it makes it far easier to know this is where you're going to be. And then we're going to just go and get the Graph API or a Graph API request. So for those of you who have dealt with custom API and run across the paging issues, we all know we need a base URL and an endpoint. So to make it easy, because I would probably want to use this as a sub workflow in the future, since it will manage paging for me, I'll come in here and make a base URL and a endpoint location. And to make my life even easier, I'm just going to copy in some items here. Now, what I'll also do, because I'm going to be looping through things, I want to create a context right now to loop through. So I'm going to create a list that will just sit here that I will use in the workflow itself. But anyway, so we're going to be just hitting the beta endpoint for the Microsoft Graph URL, and we'll be looking for the groups in the top 20. So now that I've done that, just going to swap these up. So if I test this at this point in time, get a result. And you'll see that when we get the result, if Microsoft's paging, we're going to get this URL here. This is what Microsoft uses to indicate that, hey, you've already got 20, but there's now more than 20 values. We now need to get the rest. We now need to go to this URL to get the next 20, right? So what I'll end up doing is I'll be creating a condition here where we want to look for the O-link data. So if I go back into that result, we know it's going to be under result, standard roost, and then O-link next data, OData next link. So what I'm looking for in my condition here is, does this exist in the query? Because as soon as it doesn't exist, paging's complete. I'm going to have all the items that I need. I'm also going to just use a set transform action, just because I'll be talking about that a little bit later. Just cheat it, and I'm going to paste my other one that I've already built. So I've got the Microsoft Graph API request here. I want to copy the task URL. And what I want to look for is I'm going to copy it over this task here. But what we're going to do in this section is I'm looking for from this graph endpoint for the OData link, but because I need it to be my endpoint URL, I'm going to replace the base URL with blank. That's the reason why I have the... So that's the reason why back here I've set the base URL and endpoint as separate items, because we need to ensure we're excluding the base URL from the endpoint address that we're putting in when we submit it back. So if I just test this, it failed. Let me just see what I've done. Oh, well, I'm just going to move over to my live one. Yeah, so I didn't have the follow first action running at that point in time. But once you've got this configured in this configuration, what you'll see is every time I hit my graph request, it's first hitting the first URL endpoint. I've got my next OData next link here. When I hit my next request, I'm going to be hitting that endpoint, and it will just keep looping through until finally you have your results that you were after with all 70 of our groups. rather than the 20 that I had originally. So what you can then do once you've started getting paging through, and I will be sharing this workflow after this in the workflow forum, just so people can go through in depth and actually look at how I've done every little piece of this paging workflow. You can actually extend it to get to using set variable transforms. Now, the beauty of using set variable over data aliases is when you do a test or you run it, for those who don't know, set variable will actually show what you entered in the results page. So as you're troubleshooting, you can go through and use a set endpoint to very easily, I can look at, great, I'm going to get my top 20. Here's the top 20 results. I'll go back into it and you can watch the loop. But because I'm using set variable action, you'll actually see that by the time this workflow basically finishes, I only have in the context what I export. So and I'm not explaining this well today. I'm sorry, guys. I'm nervous for once. So my apologies. But yeah, so let's go with, does anyone have questions? Because I've done a very bad job of explaining this thing that I was doing. But high level, let's just go with Microsoft is now, you can only return, I think it's about 1,000 results. After that first 1,000, you are going to get this OData link appearing in your response. Unless you handle the paging and keep looping through your data, you will be limited to 1,000 results. So what this mini workflow does, it allows you to pull more data than that 1,000 and keep on get as many users, groups, whatever it is you have for your customer. And that is the point of what this workflow is for. So do we have any questions? Because that will be far easier to answer than trying to go off whatever is going on. And if not, I'll finish up for the moment and hand it back to Jake. But yeah, anyone got anything? No.
Pretty good.
Handing over to you, Jake.
Sweet. So now let me just share my screen again. This might be a bit exciting for some people. So we're actually going to go through sort of creating a custom integration. Now, the sort of first caveat I should speak about is it does need to be enabled under your tenancy. It is disabled by default. You can either speak to your CSM or you can come to Discord. We require temporary access where then we can actually enable the custom integrations. And then from there, once you go to configuration and integrations, what you'll notice is an add new configuration section here. Now, the good thing about this is you can use an OpenAPI Swagger doc and import it in, and then it sort of creates the endpoints, and then you configure sort of the variables as you go throughout the integration, right? So I'll just go to here to load it up. This is what it looks like. It's nice and beautiful, right? You can either paste in the JSON and validate it, or better yet, paste in or drag in a OpenAPI Swagger doc. So for this integration, we're actually going to be doing SyPP, and SyPP is, instead of using the Partner Center, you can manage your clients under this tool here. It's a better platform. Partner Center can be a bit rubbish in a sense. This is a solution to that. But the first place we start by grabbing, I guess, the JSON for the endpoints, right? So what we can see here is Calvin, who's one of our partners. He's one of the SyPP, he's like the SyPP guy. He's provided us with some JSON here, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this JSON, and then I'm going to beautify it, right? Because the formatting is incorrect as it currently stands. And what you'll notice, if you paste it into the chat before, you run into many issues, right? So this is one or two tools we're going to be utilizing to actually create the OpenAI API spec, because right now it's not formatted properly, right? So we'll run this selection first, right? By doing that, it's going to clean up the JSON. It's going to beautify it, right? You can see exactly what it's doing here in the transcript of the logs. And then this is also developed by Ben Klammer, who's one of our, he's an engineer, right? I believe he's an engineer. He does the work at Roost. So he developed this tool for beautifying the JSON. Now, if I am to now copy this, right? So I'm going to copy this JSON. I'm going to go back to this section here. I'm going to paste it in. And then I'm going to validate it. And what do you think is going to happen? Probably not much, because it's not an OpenAPI spec. So what we can see here now is a bunch of errors. And you're probably going to be like, well, this is not that good, right? This is not what I wanted. Not to stress. We're still having the JSON copied. What I did is then I went to my second tool and I pasted in the JSON file. And, you know, I said, good morning, my friend, because you've got to be nice to the AI. You don't know if it's going to be malevolent one day. So you be friendly with it. And I simply pasted in all the errors I received. And I said, look, translate this into an OpenAI API spec Swagger doc, right? And by doing this, it essentially, you know, there's a little big error amount there, right? You can see how many errors there actually are, right? From there, it did some stuff, and then it returned me with the clean output. Now, there was initially 12 different blocks of code that I did receive initially. So to save everyone a bunch of time, I have the formatted document ready to go, which I'll now paste in, and you can see what that looks like. So with the cleaned up JSON, what we can see here now is it's going to celebrate with a Roost birthday chicken. We can see the spec is OpenAPI version 3.0.0. And we now have 128 actions, right? So essentially, these are all the endpoints that are translated, and we'll see what the next steps are. So if I go next here, it does require a name, so we can call this, you know, CIPP. That's fine. It also requires an icon, and the icon must be an SVG icon, right? So it can't be PNG. It needs to be vectorized, right? And I also have one of those here. You can simply use a conversion tool. So I just used a free tool online to convert a PNG to a SVG. There's my icon, right? We're going to go next. So the host name. So, you know, where do you find the host name? The host name can be found right here, right? So within the, so in CIPP, under integrations, right, you navigate into CIPP. Once you're here, you can find the URLs that you will need to populate into the fields as we go along this integration. The first one being the API URL, right? So I'll paste it into here. It does require a /API. Don't believe, yeah, no. And it also in this instance needs to have the HTTP. Now, generally speaking, depending on how well documented the API document is, you'll be able to also find all the other details you need. So for instance, I know that this requires OAuth 2.0, as it does mention that in the documentation. So when you're creating these custom integrations, it is important to reference the documentation for the native platform, because they will have all the information about, you know, what spec of authentication you need, the pagination type you need, and that sort of stuff there. And look, I'm not really a developer. I'm technical enough to get by, but Roost makes it sort of easy. If you follow the document, you'll be able to create your custom integrations for tools that aren't native on the platform, right? So that's now been put in. We can now hit next, right? So the OAuth grant type is client credentials, and I believe this also came from the document. I'm not sure where it is, but yeah, so right here, grant type being client credentials, so the information's right there. So this is the only thing on this page I believe that needs to be changed. The rest don't. We actually do need to put in the OAuth scopes for this instance. So the OAuth scope actually comes from when you create your SyncMonkey API client. What you can do is you can simply just go to, I guess, in this instance, my one. I copy my API scope, I go back here, and then I paste it in. Other than that, I believe you also need to have the OAuth access token URL. And where you find this from is right here, right? So you grab that, you go back into here, you paste it in, that's all good. From this point on, we can hit next, right? Pagination type, it's default set as pointer. I'm going to leave it as pointer for now. It shouldn't, actually, I'm going to set it to none. It shouldn't really matter in this instance. I'm going to hit next. It's not relevant in this section here. And then what you see here is a list of all the actions. So these actions here are what are going to show up in the workflow builder. So you can see there's stuff for MFA, there's stuff for roles, for users, for groups, and so forth. Right? And then if you drill in further, you can actually see what method it's using, if it's a get, if it's a post, and then you can also specify here path parameters, query parameters. And again, you don't need to touch any of this, but you have the ability to review it and then configure it if you would like to, right? Cool. So now what we do is we hit finalize. Am I sure? I'm quite sure. And then what we do is we hit save. And now from draft, we go to published. And just like that, if we go to the integrations, what you will notice, if I hit refresh the page, if I type in SyPP, there's my integration, right? So it's all there. All the details have been filled out already. And I've actually got some workflows to test the, to see if it's actually working. So I have three different, actions here. So I have one to list the users, and then I have two generic API requests, right? So I have one here to list the logs and one here to get the version, right? So if I just test these three actions, we'll be expecting to see some data. And if data is returned, we can verify the API can communicate to SyPP from Roost, and then it's been completed. So let me just click on this one here. Right, so now we can see it returned some data. We verified the API is working. I'm happy. I'm sure if you do this yourself, you'll also be happy. We have another one here, right, that's returning more data. All is good. And then this last one, if it takes a long time to run, we'll list out all of our users within the SyPP platform. But that's basically it, right? So that's now been verified. We can see data come in, and now we can start building workflows, right? And here are all the different actions that you can go through for SyPP. Questions? Has anyone got questions?
Don't all jump out at once.
I will put those two links in, by the way, that I did utilize to either. So I got one here for, I guess, beautifying the JSON, and then one to create the Swagger spec for the API document. So this is for, cleaning, beautifying JSON, and then this is for creating the spec.
I'll also mention if anyone does, take this away and think about it and they do want it in the future, just reach out to me. I'm, obviously the CSM for this region. Yeah, don't be shy. I'll get you sorted out.
Cool. That's basically a bit of a speed run there. But yeah, that's custom integration, sort of how it works within Roost. As you can see, it's pretty intuitive. It sort of is almost that simple. That's what I have to say. So I guess from here, do I pass it back to you, Sarah? I believe it's your time to shine now.
I've got Chris in the chat who has said, could we grab a cleaned OpenAPI spec for SyPP?
Absolutely. You can most definitely grab that there. I did have to go through a few different variations of this. There's permission issues here. Let's have a look. Let's go.
We'll share it in the workflow forum.
Yeah, okay.
We'll make an open mic post today for what I've done and what Jake's done, and we'll share it there.
I'll paste it here, but we can also share it there as well. So there's two point of references. If you want to grab it from here, from there, it's your choice.
Yeah,
cool.
If you can download it, definitely.
Nice. Well, thanks for sharing, guys. Appreciate it. Does anyone have any other burning questions? Doesn't have to be related to any content that was here today. Anything that you might have wanted to bring up, anything you've kind of ran into today and haven't had a chance to pop on Discord. The guys are more than happy to answer any questions that may have popped up.
And I'll probably also just note again, if you want to see anything else in these sessions, say, hey, Scar, let me know, what you want to see, and I can take that back to the team as well for the next one. So these can be very tailored to what you guys want. We've got a small group here, so we want to make these as useful as possible for you guys.
Definitely. So if you have any feedback, by all means, relay that through to Scar or via your Discord, or you can even send that to myself, whatever suits you guys best. But otherwise, anyone else ready to have something to jump in on?
I was just going to ask, since we'll fix that up. We'll share it in the Discord and then we'll put in the coop where we've posted it for you guys. Because I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to put it in there. Did you find this content useful? Is there anything else like this you'd want to see? Everything Sarah said, you can go ahead and reply here. Is there anything else you'd want to see in the next few weeks, or basically all the same stuff Sarah said?
Don't be shy. Reach out, tell us what you think, the good, the bad, the ugly. We want to hear it. So let us know. But otherwise, if no one else has got anything they wanted to ask or share, we may wrap it up. Pretty good. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I appreciate all your time. Here was one of the
advanced form work. Sorry, here. Yeah. What do you mean by that? Displaying org vars. So bringing data from a workflow back into a form and being able to see it all in the form itself?
Yeah, hi, Ray. I was just working through a problem today of trying to display some org variables. I'm storing some client settings as org variables in.
I'm on mute there, Hugh.
Sorry, I got muted there, so I don't know how that happened. It'd be nice to see some techniques of being able to display that information on a form or some dynamic options on a form.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice and easy. We can go away and do that for you and bring that back. Maybe we do a really big in-depth one of everything you can do with forms.
Yeah, some of those sort of advanced tips and tricks and sort of edge cases people may not think of would be a good topic, I think.
No problem at all.
Perfect. We can take that one away for sure. Thank you. Nice. Well, if we haven't got any other questions, like always, reach out on your Discord. Scar's around, I'm around, and so is the team. We're all happy to help out wherever we can. But otherwise, thank you everyone for joining. Any topics come up or any feedback, be sure to relay.
Thanks, everyone. I'll catch you later.
Thank you.
Catch you next week.
Worries.